What's up, welcome. Recently I was just chilling, doing my thing, listening to Spotify, and all of a sudden, Shuffle throws me Sleep Token. Now I haven't listened to Sleep Token in a hot minute because they've dropped an album last year and have been silent ever since. Well, if you count a fully sold out North American tour as silent, then yeah. But matter of fact, they haven't released any new music, and so people, I'm sure, have been starved of new Sleep Token. Now I have a kind of an interesting journey with Sleep Token personally because I used to love them a lot. I used to listen to them daily. Right around the third album, Take Me Back to Eden, it kind of slowed down to a crawl. I basically haven't really come back to that album ever since I reacted to it. I don't know why, but when that Shuffle song came on the other day, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back and re-listen to these three albums. Because yes, Sleep Token has dropped 3 albums. And then I thought, what if I ranked these 3 from the worst to the best for a video? I'm sure it's gonna be a nice and civil conversation in the comments. Well, just a disclaimer before I begin. This is purely my opinion. If you disagree with it, you're more than welcome to disagree in the comments down below. But I'm just saying, this list is gonna be not what you might expect. Alright, Sleep Token. Let's rank their albums. I told you. Take Me Back to Eden is my least favorite Sleep Token album. I don't really know how to explain it, but this album to me didn't feel satisfying enough. Don't get me wrong, there are some incredible songs in here, some of the best Sleep Token has ever written. Of course, The Summoning, Chokehold, Granite. But when it comes to the rest of the album, I always felt kind of wanting more, wanting something different. And I can't really tell if the reason I didn't like this album is Sleep Token trying really hard to make it bigger, better, more bombastic than the previous ones, or if it's just the same style that kind of got tired for the third time around. But to me, this album just felt, out of the 3, the least organized and the least logical from song to song, especially the 7-minute, 5-minute, 8-minute songs that don't really justify their runtime, in my opinion. I think when you hit like the middle point of this album, Ascensionism, the pacing of this album slows down to a crawl in like not a really good way. Personally, I haven't really listened to any of the non-singles after my reaction almost at all. I don't really recall myself ever wanting to come back to these songs. I do come back to singles. Again, Chokehold, The Summoning, Granite, Aqua Regia, even Vor are all incredible songs. But this album to me overall felt like too much too quick without a proper glue in between songs, if that makes sense. I know a lot of people loved it. I know a lot of people called it like one of their best albums last year. To me, it just wasn't the case, and I don't really see how this one ranks above any of the other Sleep Token albums. I do respect what they've done here. I just think this album was a bit too much of, trying to replicate something they've done before, but multiplied by 10, and it didn't really quite work for me. So Take Me Back to Eden, my number 3. Hell yeah. I told you before we started this was gonna get weird. Sundowning, the debut, the first album, the first full-length outing by this band from 2019. Wow. Now, to be transparent, I love this album. This album has a very, very special place in my heart. I remember checking out every new song every month it was dropping, and it was just something so special to me. When I first heard The Offering, which was the first Sleep Token song I've ever heard, I was completely blown away that such a style even exists. I mean, this like soul R&B mix with metal, like a very melodic and soulful way. I just didn't think something like that ever existed before, and something like this exists now, and I'm gonna listen to it every day. And so I did. I had a really big phase with Sleep Token in 2019. It was a very important album for my music taste forming. And back then, it was new, it was fresh, it was something that I've never quite heard before. Now again, this was one of those albums that was released, staggered throughout the year. We had a new song every month up until the last one, which was Bloodsport, which came out in December, and it was the closer. So you kind of just heard the entire album before it even released, which I know a lot of people are not big fans of, but I think the wait here was super deserved, the staggered release was super deserved. And it worked for me personally. So for the longest time, I considered this to be the best Sleep Token album, but upon recent couple of re-listens, I realized something about it that I haven't quite realized with my rose-colored glasses before. This album, as a first outing, is amazing, but it's also a bit flawed in the style itself. I think a lot of the album follows a very, very similar structure to its detriment, where certain songs just feel a bit too samey. You've got the whole structure of, you know, going up the stairs and then jumping off at the end for a big, heavy guitar breakdown. Way too many songs on this album follow this structure, and it kind of becomes tiring as you listen to it because it's not a short album either. I also think the second half of this album, pacing-wise, is a bit weak. We start off really strong with The Night Does Not Belong to God, The Offering, Levitate, Dark Signs, Higher, and then everything kind of just slows down to an inappropriate crawl. The album picks itself back up later on, but it never quite strikes as much of the intention as the first half did. But I will always love Bloodsport because it is a special song to me. It is one of the best album closes I've ever heard. And it's a song I associate with a lot because it came out during the time that was very personal to me, and, you know, I was going through things, and it just had to have come out on a day it did and be as sad as it did. That definitely helps. I love this album. I do. I see how some people could be turned off by it, and I just think one other Sleep Token album did what Sleep Token does a little bit better. Let's talk about it.
Ooh, let's talk about chemistry, 'cause I'm dying to melt through to the heart of the molecules.
This place will become your tomb. This is my favorite currently album by Sleep Token. In this video, I told you that I thought this album was way too slow, way too boring, and not very interesting compared to Sundowning, and I stood by that opinion for a few weeks until I realized that I've been listening to some of the non-single deeper cuts of the album non-stop every single day. This album is the definition of growing on me. I don't think any other album ever grew on me as much as this one did. I truly just fell in love with what it had to offer. The Offering. To me, this album feels the most balanced in their discography in that it has a particular style that it's going for and it doesn't quite stray away from it too much. So this album overall stays very uniform in what it's trying to deliver. From the first track to the last, you have this very, very beautiful journey, very stylistic, unified journey, unlike especially the last album, which to me felt a little bit, or not a little bit, but very disjointed. This one is anything but disjointed, and that's why probably this one is my favorite. One thing you will not hear on this album as much as maybe you would on both Sundowning and Take Me Back to Eden is heavy. This album is not particularly heavy. There's barely any screaming or breakdowns. There's like 2 maybe in total. But let's be honest, if you're listening to Sleep Token for breakdowns and heavy screams, you're doing this whole thing wrong. I'm sorry to break it to you. Where this album delivers is emotion, and it delivers it in such a beautiful, balanced, again, way. So if the Sundowning was to me much of the same, Take Me Back to Eden was to me a little bit too much, too quick, This Place Will Become Your Tomb is just perfect. It's a perfect, mature continuation of the Sundowning, and I was quite disappointed to hear the sound of Take Me Back to Eden because it wasn't really a continuation of this album. It was something entirely different, which I respect, but I wish they went into a direction that this album did, but explore it a bit better. I still think this is my favorite album. It has a song called Telomeres, which is my favorite Sleep Token song ever. It's such a beautiful celebration of emotions and love. And I think instrumentation on this is actually quite amazing. It's better than Sundowning. It's better than Take Me Back to Eden. Again, this album is not too much. It's not over the top, and that is what works about it so well. You don't have these massive, crazy 7-8 minute songs in here to deliver a point. Instead, you have shorter, more focused, more balanced tracks guiding you throughout the whole runtime. I just think this album is the best out of their discography, and I would love to hear more stuff like this from Sleep Token, but judging from the numbers, I guess we'll hear more of the Take Me Back to Eden sound. But who knows? Who knows? I guess we'll see. But these were my rankings of the Sleep Token albums from the worst to the best. Again, Take Me Back to Eden, Sundowning, This Place Will Become Your Tomb. What about you? What do you think of this ranking? And you can feel free to rank it yourself in the comments. I would love to see what people think. I think for some reason This Place Will Become Your Tomb is like the least liked one. It's the most rejected album in the Sleep Token discography. And I genuinely do not understand why. I genuinely don't. This is one of the most beautiful works they've ever done as a whole. And so it doesn't make sense to me how this is not as praised as the other two albums are. That being said, that's all. Thank you for spending your time with me. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if I should do more of these, like ranking a discography of a certain band. I would love to. I would love to. I love listening to older albums and kind of reformatting my opinion, if that makes sense. But that's all. Sleep Token. Go listen to them. Awesome band. But that's all. Love you all. Drink some water. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.